Hey everybody, welcome to my predictions for the 2023 Supercar season. Obviously, we've got the Gen 3 cars, so no one has any idea what's going to happen, but I don't think there'll be as big a shake-up as people think there might be. I think Brad Jones Racing were a bit of an anomaly in the way that they did so well. I think they just stepped up to where they were going to step up to anyway. Shane Van Gisbergen's done an amazing job in the championship. I expect him to win it again. I think Brock Feeney will step up as a driver. I think the Triple Eight will be running up the front. I think Brock Feeney will step closer to where Shane Van Gisbergen is. I think Dick Johnson Racing and Anton De Pasquale and Will Davison, they'll be in the top 10. Both of them are great drivers. Anton had a difficult year in 2022. I don't know if that was a lack of speed or just difficulties with the car that year, but he didn't seem to have as good a grasp as Will Davison did. But Anton should be about where Will is, and they should both be up the pointy end where Triple Eight are mixing it with the front. Walkinshaw and Andretti United. I saw someone said that, Nick Percat and Chaz Moster will be right up there, and the Walkinshaw and Andretti United will be right up the front because the Mustang will change anything. I'm not sure that changing the car will change the way things are at Walkinshaw and Andretti United. I think it's a Chaz Moster issue. I don't think it's a struggle for Walkinshaw specifically. I think that it's only been there since Chaz has been at the team, so therefore the problem is creating a strong second car when you've got one car that seems to be doing so much better than the others. It's like when Chaz was at Tickford, it seemed to be that it was just Chaz leading the charge, and I don't expect that to change. But I think that Nick will be able to build on last year's performance. Nick Percat's a great driver. He should be further up. He should be pretty much where he was with Brad Jones Racing. Walkinshaw should be able to deliver a car that can do as well as the Brad Jones Racing car that Nick was so successful in. I think that the possibility for podiums might be a bit more likely by being able to step a little bit closer, just from having a growing relationship with Adam Austin, his new engineer. And obviously Chaz will lead the charge and get podiums and all that. Tickford Racing, Cameron Waters is obviously going to be the spearhead for the team as expected. JC will be up there as somewhere near Cam, and Declan Fraser and Thomas Randall will be mixing it up in the mid-pack. I'm not sure about Thomas Randall. I think that maybe I thought that he was not as good as people thought he was, but I was there on the front, saw him on the front row at Tailem Bend. He made the step up. I was very impressed, but he continued to bang around the back, clashing with Jake Kostecki, and I thought, who's going to be the better driver out of the two of them? They just did not seem to be able to work it out. I think it might change by having a different driver with Declan Fraser, and I don't think that Declan will be anything spectacular in the Supercars Championship against Thomas Randall, because they both pretty much had the same sort of results. Declan did a year with MW before he went to Triple Eight and won the championship. Stepping into the car that won the previous year, I don't think makes a difference. I think that the driver can carry the car, and at Tickford it's going to be just as the same as it was last year. I think that Thomas Randall will make some sort of ground towards the front, maybe getting his first podium. And obviously Cam Waters will probably be contending for race wins, get a fair few podiums and some pole positions as well. Grove Racing, I think David Reynolds will be up the front just like he was in Gen 2 and last year, but he'll be mixing it up in the top 10 for sure. Dave Reynolds will be likely to get close to a podium at a few stages in 2023 as well. I don't think that Matt Payne will, but I think Mac Payne could surprise. He definitely did surprise when he was in Super 2. I don't think there's any reason why he wouldn't surprise again. He was very impressive in Carrera Cup as well. But I think that if there was a driver who's more likely to end up in the fence, I would have said Mac Payne, really. While he's fast, he just gets tangled up and stuff too much. Team 18, well, as long as they build some good cars, which is going to be an interesting concept to understand in Gen 3. Mark Winterbottom and Scott Pye are great drivers. They should be able to deliver some good results. Erebus Motorsport, Brody Kostecki and Will Brown are very talented drivers, and I think they'll be able to deliver great results. The question is, are they better than some of the best in the field? And I think that if the Gen 3 car is able to even out the playing field and not have things based on car performance, I think that the more talented drivers will rise to the top, and I think that Brody Kostecki and Will Brown are definitely some of those. I think if we often consider that a wet racetrack is a great way to even the field, Brody Kostecki is great in the wet. He got his first podium in 2021, he got a podium in 2022 in the wet at Tailem Bend, and Will Brown was also very fast in the wet at Sandown and got in the top 10 at Tailem Bend 2022. They are obviously good with a good car as well in the dry, so I think that they're that talented. What happened with Will in 2022, it's hard to say what really caused him to struggle so much. But I definitely thought that Will Brown would have done better in his first season than Brody, because of how different his performances were in Super 2. I think we've seen that Brody Kostecki is definitely something worth watching. He's been able to run up the front in the big races. He's been able to run up the front in most races. He's been able to deliver whether the car is actually capable of it. And in the wet is a sensation. Matt Stone Racing. Jack LeBrock has struggled to perform in his 5 years in the category. Probably won't beat most of the field. While talented, he tends to get caught up in incidents too often. I still hold out belief that Jack LeBrock can deliver. He got his first front row in 2022. He definitely has speed in him, and we saw at Tickford that when the car's hooked, he's on. But how Jack is able to deliver in 2023 will be a question of how he manages to develop his skill as a driver. Cameron Hill, a bit unknown. I think he might end up in the fence a few times earlier, being talked about as a guy who keeps his racing tidy. But then in Adelaide, he put it in the fence, which was a bit surprising for me. It's going to be interesting. I don't think he'll be able to beat Jack LeBrock, though. I think that you've got to appreciate the fact that the drivers that are in supercars aren't the worst drivers in the world. And we saw when Tim Blanchard went into Super 2, he was beating plenty of drivers just by being a good driver. The Super 2 drivers are not as good as the main game drivers. It's such a big step up. Premier Racing. Premier are building up a lot, and I think that by having two strong drivers in James Golding and Tim Slade, I think that they will be able to mix it up in the mid-pack and definitely challenge for the top 10. If the cars are an equal playing field, I think that James Golding, especially in his performance in the wet at Townsville 2019, Tailem Bend 2022, he was able to charge up to the front and really mix it with the front runners. So I think that James Golding will be able to continue delivering the results that he delivered and the performances that he delivered in 2022 in 2023. Tim Slade is still one of the great drivers in the category, and I think that he should be able to match James Golding quite easily. And he did a very good job with the Blanchard Racing team, despite the Blanchard team's issues. Blanchard Racing team have got Todd Hazelwood, so them signing him up definitely proved to me, okay, maybe Todd Hazelwood isn't that bad, because so many times in 2022 you saw one of the Matt Stone Racing cars in the fence. It didn't matter who it was. Todd Todd Hazelwood did end up in the fence in Adelaide, but I think that might have been a bit of a one-off. He was able to demonstrate some really good speed and some good performances throughout the year. So, wearing the same colours as the guy that seems to be involved in more incidents might be something that showed him to be not as good. But we know that Todd Hazelwood is very talented when the car's sorted, like it seemed to be at Townsville for him a lot of the time. And with that little environment at Blanchard Racing Team where they're putting all their eggs in the one car, they should be able to put Todd in the top 10 on a semi-regular basis. Brad Jones Racing, Andre Heimgartner, who should be able to challenge for the top 10. And if you believe at the pre-season testing, he was obviously topping the sheets in both the morning and the afternoon sessions. So you could argue that Brad Jones is going to be right up the front again, just like they were last time there was a big regulation change. So I think Andre will be in the mix. He's a very talented driver. He was able to make the Nissans sing despite the fact that they were Nissans. He's a bit of an anomaly. I don't think we really know what the issue is with him. I don't think he's as bad as some people think he is. I think a lot of people like him because of how friendly he is. He's definitely a bit of a fan favourite. I think that he isn't the worst driver in the world, so I think he should be in the top 15. Macauley Jones making steps towards battling up the front. His qualifying performances and race performances seem to have disappeared in 2022. 2021 he was very impressive at Townsville, and he definitely had speed. And I think I was expecting a lot more in 2022 based on the performances from 2021, but he seemed to step back a tiny bit. Jack Smith, while people would say that Jack Smith isn't very good, and he's often down the back, he has been making slight improvements in terms of his results. So I think that he will be able to make that little step forward again. It doesn't matter what the car is. I think that a Brad Jones racing car seems to be a bit of a midfield car. So a good driver will put it further up midfield, and a bad driver will set it down the back somewhere. I'm going to read out the names of the highlighted drivers. The drivers who I think are very talented and should be able to make the cars sing in 2023. Shane Van Gisbergen, Chaz Mostert, Will Davison, Cam Waters, David Reynolds, Nick Percat, Andre Heimgartner, Brody Kostecki, James Golding, and Will Brown. I think that those drivers are talents, and that they should be able to stand out in the new cars and demonstrate their abilities. I sort of bumped out Anton De Pasquale and Brock Feeney because I don't think that their performances have matched the cars that they've been in. Last year, Anton really wasn't doing as well as he should have been doing. I think Brock Feeney's consistency, I think he got 23 top 10s, and Van Gisbergen, he only got like a couple top 10s less than Shane Van Gisbergen. So I think that Brock Feeney is a very good driver and deserves that seat at Triple Eight. But I'm not convinced that he is better than Mostert, better than Davison, better than Waters, or any of those drivers who've been at teams that haven't been able to deliver good cars but still made the good results happen. I think Brock Feeney's win at Adelaide was definitely a step in the right direction. I think his podium at Sandown, his podium at Tassie was simply a result of good qualifying. Not going to make too much of a stab in the dark for this year because it's a new generation and you don't really know what the cars are like and how they behave and whether teams can actually develop through to the end of the year, and you don't know if that's a car improvement or if that's drivers and teams getting more accommodated with the car. That's it for my video. Let me know what you think. Okay, bye bye.